Unbeknownst to most people, and I'm going to refer to what I've seen in Asia, and sadly what I know still occurs in Africa, slavery still exists. But there's a new iteration that sadly has been propagated and infiltrated North America and the rest of the world. And it's social media. And let me explain to you exactly, let's go into the history of slavery. So many of us, the majority of us, coming from the continent of Africa, went to Brazil. And then others arrived in North America. And because we were tending to the crops in the sweltering heat and having to produce in order to survive, ergo, there is justice and a God, and we are bigger, stronger, faster, and perform better under pressure. And that is why 65 to 75% of athletes are black or Afro-Latino, right? The direct correlation. Finally, a semblance of justice for the atrocities. But what I want to talk about now is that this same concept of slavery is being implemented on our youth as we speak. Now remember this, what Harriet Tubman, her famous quote was. She says, "I wish I could have freed more people." Because being born into slavery in the United States or Brazil, people did not know a life outside of it. So everything was dependent on the master, or we say massa, which forced one to not know that there was another alternative. So when Harriet Tubman was attempting to free people, they're like, what do you mean? Free me from what? It is what it is. This is how it's supposed to be. So it's the same with social media, is that when you try, now tell me the biggest pullback when you're raising kids, coaching or mentoring, is getting kids to give a break from the phone. Do you see, they're clenching to the phone, they need it. They go crazy because their world is defined around it. Whereas yourself and I have lived without it. And we've done careers where you're being paid to not have your phone, but actually do something, right? Produce. So the mental component of slavery, while we're not in physical shackles, the youth aren't, they're tethered to their phone, which is a mental enslavement. And I'll tell you another thing. There's nothing organic about social media. And since the algorithm is controlled, what kids see and they're inundated with is programmed by the tech oligarchs, or what I equate to the new masses, the new masters. And so I see a direct, very similar correlation between they were getting free labor when slavery was enacted, right? So it's free labor to sell crops at a profit. Now it's free mind control to sell ads at a profit. But let me rewind that and say that again. It was free labor to sell cotton and crops at a profit. Those are the old masters. Let me go to the tech oligarch slave masters. It's free information and minds and eyeballs to sell advertisements to make a profit. Both of which do not behoove us, just the oligarch masters. So the system, and give them credit for having studied intently slavery. These are very, very calculated and intelligent individuals. They just don't have God or good or humanity within them, right? So how can I prove my thing? The ramifications of slavery still, generations later, affect people emotionally, physically, mentally. And so the social media has 40% plus of kids depressed. This is documented. So it's child abuse. And they are above the law, just like it was legal slavery to a point. Now it's legal to manipulate and abuse kids because big tech, big pharma own the government via lobbyists, via influence, via buying elections. So it's quite a revolutionary concept that I'm delving into, and I'm providing irrefutable facts. So I know people are going to push back and be upset. But kids do not have the ability to calculate and formulate their own ideas because, like I said, they're tethered to the phone on average 4 to 6 to 8 to 12 hours a day because of FOMO, fear of missing out. So they don't have an organic thought left in their mind. It's all being programmed by these oligarchs. Now let me forward into who benefits from slavery. The masses, right? Those who own, the few people who owned the plantations became wealthy because of that. Now who benefits because of tech? The few people who own the plantations, that own the tech social media companies, plantation social media companies. I get them confused. Honest mistake. No, it wasn't. It's truth. And so you have the 1,000 employees. They don't employ that many people, tech companies. So you have the 500 to 2,000 employees. You have the 500 maybe Series A, B, or C investors. So you have 1% and 1% and 1% and 1% and 1% and 1% of Earth benefiting from this. Now, let me tell you, because I know you're out there making millions of dollars at your job, and you're smarter than me, right? Because you're making money at this, your C-suite exec I've interviewed, done things of that nature. But let me tell you what's happening in the schools, because all that matters is the youth, because without them, there is no future. Life ceases to exist. 40% plus of kids are depressed. Now, I have to use that number, but I would guesstimate from what I'm seeing about 60 to 70%. And the unhappiness is directly correlated to the 4 social media apps that control their thoughts. And it's all they know and all they see. Do you know most kids think they should get a Lamborghini by 21? Do you know most kids think they should have a 6-pack or date a supermodel or be promiscuous with tons of millionaires and be on a yacht? These absurd ideas, like even I matriculated the #1 school in the world. Even if you go to an Ivy League school, only a few people become wealthy like billionaires. So we've created a world where kids don't know anything outside of the top 1%. And it's not realistic or ascertainable for 99.9% of Earth. So they're going to, of course, ergo, feel like they're less than and not sufficient and suffer from the depression. And it's interesting that the only upside, like I said, the reason that most pro sports, and I want to tell you something, like you remember when we fought in the Coliseums and we entertained like warriors like myself and won the battles as slaves to one day hopefully earn our freedom. Now we're compensated for that as professional athletes, but there's a direct correlation between the Coliseum as a slave to being a professional athlete. But, so, I'm giving you a positive. Do you know that 1% of youth play Division I sports? And 1% of 1% go pro? So that's not a realistic. However, because of social media, you're inundated with the Lambo, the supermodel, and the professional athlete who's going to be black or brown. So you think that all people of color are living great. But that's a misconception. And it's just mathematically untrue. So here we are at a crossroads because I want to put some onus on everybody for worshiping these tech oligarchs, for dating and thinking that they're gods, and for investing in them. So this is what you've done. You've created a world of unhappiness. And furthermore, there's such parity between the rich and the poor that pretty soon your kids won't be able to go to the store and survive because it's getting absolutely obscene out there. The crime is rampant and it's not safe anywhere. So you can't hide in your posh private schools, in your gated communities anymore. That time is over. So now I want to propose 3 solutions to end this systematic slavery that we have a new iteration of, because it's horrible. Let me see what we got here, because I had to take notes on this. This is a very serious matter. So, first off, we have to start condemning these tech oligarchs for the society and the systematic depression that they've implemented and created. Okay? We have to hold them accountable. That means the woman who date them. That means the men and women who invest in them. And that means the media who lauds them as gods. So we have to change that paradigm. Hold them accountable. Secondly, we need to start investing in companies that actually help youth remain active, happy, and express themselves and seek out a realistic dream and goal for themselves. Because I'll tell you like this, you scoffed and laughed. I met with all the investors who invest in these tech companies, and they laughed. My mantra was, we're going to save 1 million lives and make $1 million. They laughed. What's that? Well, guess what? Now there's a good chance your kids are on SSRIs, overly sexualized, and suicidal. So don't play these games. You invested in these tech people, so take some accountability. Because I offered you an option. And you didn't take it, and you laughed. And I still found a way. Invested in myself to save youth. And lastly, we're going to have Timeout with Tadeo in the C-suite at Snapchat, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Holding people accountable and changing the algorithm to allow people to know that life exists outside of technology and their cell phone. Boom, boom, boom. Let's get it.